This episode of Sahaba Role Models, we explore the life of Abu Dharr Al-Ghifari, a man known for his unwavering commitment to truth and his bold stand against injustice. Abu Dharr was not only a companion of the Prophet Muhammad, but also a vocal advocate for social justice and equality, challenging the wealth and power structures of his time. His fearlessness in speaking out for the oppressed and his devotion to the Prophet's message made him a unique and inspiring figure. In Episode 3, we learned about Abdurrahman ibn Auf, whose generosity and business acumen greatly contributed to the success of the early Muslim community. While Abdurrahman used his wealth to support the growth of Islam, Abu Dharr's approach was different. He used his voice and his actions to call for a just society, challenging the rich and powerful when they veered away from the true teachings of Islam. Today we'll explore how Abu Dharr's courage and dedication to justice can inspire us in the modern world.
Welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're going to be talking about the life of Abu Dharr Al-Ghifari.
Abu Dharr Al-Ghifari.
Yeah, thanks for that. Abu Dharr Al-Ghifari. He was a companion of the Prophet Muhammad, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him.
Absolutely.
And he was really known for his truthfulness and his faith.
Yeah.
So our source material today comes from alim.org. Be sure to check them out. They have some really fantastic resources for learning about Islam.
That's a great website.
So Abu Dharr is known as the most true and faithful.
That's right.
Now, what makes him stand out so much? What's so special about him?
Well, it's interesting because Abu Dharr's story starts before he even meets the Prophet, right? He's actually from the Ghifar tribe in the Waddan Valley. And this tribe was known for being brave, but also for being pretty skeptical of idol worship.
So they weren't exactly conforming to the, to the norm.
No, not at all.
And their location was a key route for trade caravans. So they were probably exposed to all sorts of different beliefs.
Yeah, for sure. They were at a crossroads, right? So they were exposed to a lot of different ideas, and that made them question things.
So that probably influenced their mindset.
I think so, yeah. It definitely made them more discerning.
So they hear about this new prophet in Makkah. I imagine that really sparked their interest.
Totally. Abu Dharr was really intrigued when he heard the rumors. But instead of just believing it or dismissing it out of hand, he actually sent his brother, Anas, to investigate.
Whoa, so he sends him on a fact-finding mission.
Yeah, exactly. He wanted to know the truth.
So Anas comes back, what'd he say?
Well, he came back with a pretty compelling report, He said this wasn't just some poet or soothsayer. This was different.
He was talking about noble qualities and a completely different way of life.
Yeah, for sure. He was emphasizing something different.
But I'm sure not everyone was immediately convinced.
Oh, of course not. There were people saying all sorts of things. Some said he was a magician. Some said he was just a poet. They tried to discredit him.
Typical. Got to bring him down.
Exactly. But Abu Dharr wasn't satisfied with just hearing about it secondhand. He wanted to see for himself. He had this deep need to find the truth.
So he travels to Makkah knowing it could be really dangerous.
Right.
The Quraysh were in charge there. And they weren't exactly known for being welcoming to people who challenged them.
Not at all.
That took a lot of courage.
He was determined. The source mentions that he spent 2 whole nights in Makkah without even asking about the Prophet.
Wow.
Can you imagine being so close to your goal, but being so cautious?
That's amazing. I guess that shows how seriously he was taking all this.
Absolutely.
So that's where Ali ibn Abi Talib comes in, right?
Yeah. Ali, known for his wisdom, he took Abu Dharr under his wing and guided him. And eventually, Ali introduces him to the Prophet.
I see.
And get this, Abu Dharr was the very first person to greet the Prophet with Assalamu alayka ya Rasulullah.
Really?
And that became the standard greeting in Islam.
Wow, what a powerful first impression. To think a simple greeting would become such an important part of Islamic tradition.
It really shows how sincere he was.
But he didn't stop there. He goes even further. The Prophet, worried about Abu Dharr's safety, tells him to keep his new faith quiet for now. But Abu Dharr just couldn't contain himself.
Yeah, he just had to share it with the world.
He decides to proclaim his faith publicly, and not just anywhere, in the Kaaba.
Right, in the heart of Makkah.
That was a bold move.
Yeah.
Talk about walking into the lion's den. What were the consequences?
Well, let's just say the Quraysh were not happy.
I imagine not.
They attacked him.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. Thankfully, the Prophet's uncle Abbas stepped in and protected him.
So even in those early days, there were people looking out for each other.
Yeah, for sure. They had each other's backs.
That's really heartwarming to know.
And despite this whole ordeal, Abu Dharr didn't waver at all.
Wow.
He went back to his tribe and just started preaching Islam openly.
He was really committed.
He even converted his brother and mother to Islam.
So one person's faith can really have a ripple effect.
Yeah, absolutely. It's powerful.
So we see this unwavering commitment to the truth, even when he's facing danger.
Right.
What happens next? Does he stay with his tribe?
Well, once the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, was established in Medina, Abu Dharr really wanted to be with him.
He wanted to serve the Prophet directly.
Exactly.
I can understand that. And the Prophet had a lot of affection for him, right?
Oh, yeah. The Prophet was really fond of him.
It makes you wonder what qualities in Abu Dharr really resonated with the Prophet.
The sources describe the Prophet patting Abu Dharr affectionately and smiling when he saw him. It's really sweet.
That's a really nice image. Seems like they had a very special bond.
They did. I think beyond his courage and truthfulness, Abu Dharr was incredibly sincere.
That's really beautiful.
And that really resonated with people.
But of course, there were difficult times too.
Yeah, definitely. After the Prophet passed away, Abu Dharr was just devastated.
I can only imagine.
He was overcome with grief and really disillusioned with the way things were going.
What do you mean?
Well, he was seeing a lot of materialism and worldliness creeping into society.
I see.
He just couldn't stay in Medina. It was too much for him.
So he decided to leave.
Yeah, he retreated to the desert in Syria.
That's quite a contrast from his earlier life.
He really embraced a simple life out there.
That's interesting.
But this decision also led to some conflict later on.
Oh, how so?
Well, during Uthman's caliphate, Abu Dharr started speaking out against the accumulation of wealth.
He was criticizing the lavish lifestyles of some Muslims.
Yeah. He felt like it went against the Prophet's teachings.
So he was challenging the status quo.
Oh, absolutely. He wasn't afraid to speak his mind.
That must have taken a lot of courage.
It did. And
Yeah.
he wasn't just talking the talk, he was walking the walk.
What do you mean?
Well, there's a story about the emir of Syria. He sent Abu Dharr 300 dinars as a gift.
300 dinars. That's a huge amount of money.
It was. But Abu Dharr refused to accept it.
He refused. Why?
He basically said, doesn't the emir of Syria know someone more deserving of this money?
Wow. That's incredible.
He was so detached from worldly possessions, it just wasn't important to him.
It's hard to imagine someone doing that today.
He truly believed that real wealth was in the hereafter.
His actions really spoke louder than words.
They did. He was challenging societal norms, even within the Muslim community.
His commitment to his beliefs is really inspiring.
It is. But some people wondered how he could live like that.
I mean, surely he needed some basic necessities.
Right. Well, there's a story in the source where someone visits Abu Dharr and sees how bare his house is.
They probably thought he was struggling.
They asked him, "Where are your possessions?"
And what did he say?
He replied, "We have a house yonder, meaning the hereafter, to which we send the best of our possessions."
So for him, this life was temporary.
Yeah, he was focused on the eternal.
That's a very profound perspective.
And he lived by that belief until his death in 32 AH.
His life is really powerful, both in its triumphs and its challenges.
It is. It shows us that a life dedicated to truth and faith isn't always easy.
Definitely not. But it's really inspiring.
But what does all of this mean for us today?
Right. How can we apply Abu Dharr's example to our own lives in the 21st century?
That's the big question, isn't it? I think Abu Dharr's life shows us that faith can be powerful, and that it takes courage to stand up for what's right.
And to not be attached to material things.
Right, exactly. It's about focusing on what really matters.
Which can be tough, in today's world. It's like we're constantly bombarded with messages about what to buy and how to look.
Yeah, it's easy to lose sight of what's truly important.
Abu Dharr reminds us that real happiness comes from having a purpose.
Living authentically.
Yeah, and standing up for your beliefs, even when it's hard.
He really believed that true wealth is about your spirit, your connection to something bigger than yourself.
Not about how much stuff you have.
Exactly.
Oh.
And his story has wisdom that goes beyond any culture.
It makes you wonder, though, is it really possible to detach from material possessions like he did?
It's a good question, right? We live in a world where everything is about getting more.
I mean, we all have needs. It's not like we can just give up everything.
I don't think it's about copying Abu Dharr exactly. It's more about taking the core of his values and applying them to our lives.
So maybe it's about simplifying things a bit.
Right, being more mindful of what we consume.
Focusing on experiences rather than just accumulating things.
Yeah, exactly. Appreciating what we already have.
Using our resources to help others.
It's about finding that contentment from within.
Not from external things.
Abu Dharr faced a lot of challenges too, He was exiled, people criticized him, misunderstood him.
But through it all, he never wavered in his principles.
And that's inspiring. It shows us that staying true to yourself can be hard.
It takes real courage.
But it's the path to true fulfillment.
It's about knowing what you stand for.
And living by those values.
Abu Dharr's life is a testament to the power of faith.
Absolutely.
And the impact that one person can have.
Before we finish, I really recommend everyone check out alim.org.
Yes. They have the full story of Abu Dharr Al-Ghifari's life there.
It's a great resource.
So as you think about Abu Dharr and his incredible journey, I want to ask you, how can you bring some of his qualities into your own life?
What can you do to be more truthful, more courageous, more detached from the material world?
It's something to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the life of Abu Dharr Al-Ghifari.
It is a pleasure.
We hope you found it valuable and inspiring. And don't forget to subscribe to Sahaba Role Models on YouTube for more stories like this. Until next time, keep learning and keep striving to be the best versions of yourselves.
طلع البدر علينا من ثنيات الوداع وجب الشكر علينا ما دعا لله داع أيها المبعوث فينا جئت بالأمر المطاع جئت شرفت المدينة مرحبا يا خير داع ما شاء الله we did it الحمد لله ما شاء بارك الله فيكم